Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon, episode by episode. I'm your host, Mika Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban, the Noob Plus.
And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon crystal power make up this episode. Today we are talking about episode number 87, Aito Mirai o Shinjite Usagi no Keshin in Japanese. Believing in Love and the Future, Usagi's Decision, the English translation, and the English title, Diamond in the Rough.
Did I watch the right episode? Because none of that seems to describe what happens in the episode.
Yeah, well, I think she's believing in love because...
Diamond in the Rough, and she's making a choice. She's pro-choice, and what is all this?
Demando's name in the English...
Diamando. I got it.
It's Diamond.
Yeah, I know.
Prince Diamond.
But that's pretty rough, I'll tell you right now.
It is. I agree.
When am I not going to be a noob anymore? I'm almost halfway through this.
At the end?
Oh. After a long series of exams. My Sailor Moon A-levels.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly.
That's for our UK listeners.
Yeah, right.
I have no idea what A-levels are.
We'll
GCEs.
Right, or your JLPT, your Japanese language proficiency test.
There you go.
Which
call up next.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll get to at this. Actually, you wouldn't do it with Mex because it's more if you're a foreigner.
All right.
Anyways,
Japanese school nerd.
All right, I'll take that, I guess.
You will take that. Speaking of taking things and giving things in return,
Ooh.
I wanted to announce that we've got a new Inner Senshi on the Patreon. A new team member has joined us.
That's awesome.
Michael R. has joined us at the Inner Senshi level. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for coming aboard and all the other metaphors that mean that you're joining up with us.
Yeah, it's good to have you a part of the team.
None of them really go with you've sat down at our lunch table, which is also in our homeroom, in our Japanese classroom.
Yeah.
But that's where you are.
Yeah, that's where you are. So, yeah.
And by becoming an Inner Senshi, you have access to our rewatches of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, PGSM. Also, our Animetification show, where we talk about animes and whether we think they're good based on one episode.
That's right.
Really, you should pick
Hard to tell.
We should let's watch the last episode of every anime.
That would be interesting.
That's like the person that, like, some men want to watch the world burn, and then it's like, they crush the Oreo up and then like work it into a paste along with the lard, and then they like spread it out and they snort it or something like that.
Yeah,
how do you eat an Oreo?
Right, exactly. Not like that. No, I had a good friend in high school who I feel like she would do something like that. Maybe that's being mean.
Snort Oreos?
No, but she enjoyed being different, and
That's what she told the judge.
Oh no, stop it. But she just liked doing stuff that was out there. She was
and it involved Oreos somehow.
No, I just mean she would watch the last episode and be like, "Did I like that or not?" I can see that.
That's all right. She's the person that eats the pizza, through the crust out to the point.
I could see her.
Well, we don't do that. What we do is we watch the first episode, the pilot, if you will, and we decide whether we like it or not, and if we'll continue. And you'll never know. We could say we will, and then we don't. Maybe we should have some kind of thing where we revisit. I don't know. The point is that a lot of these we're pretty enamored with.
Yeah.
And some of them we have continued watching.
Uh-huh.
The one that we watched recently is a very popular one, and I think it was like, you were like, yeah, and I was like,
Yep, that's pretty much exactly how it was.
Afro Samurai.
Yes.
A show that I could see the virtue in and was like, this is a well-made show that I don't know if I'm going to watch.
It's also only 5 episodes, so...
Yeah, maybe I could get through 5 episodes, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a short version of what we do. So.
Yeah. And you even kind of just
But anyway,
evaluated it
if
there.
you
You're like, well,
yourself
5.
want the long version, then you can get it at patreon.com/Sailor Noob.
Well, maybe we should just get right into it. Cal, would you like to break down a synopsis of this episode?
Why is it that the episodes where, less happens, it's a lot of talking or something like that, why are those the ones that always take the longest to recap? As you're going to find out right now.
Because you have to describe the physical things that are
I
happening.
can get pretty detailed at how the Dragon Ball blast is going on the thing, and then they whip around and they cock an eyebrow. And then
exactly.
But I guess actually like describing the human drama takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I can.
So we'll try to
believe that.
Try to get through it as quick as possible. We open in a Tokyo under the shadow of stationary birds. Which sounds like snow falling on cedars, shadow of stationary birds. There's a pair of bird shadows, but they're not moving at all. I mean, they're flapping, but they're not like maybe they're very high up.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't want to animate them flying across. That's too much. You don't want an extra cell for that. So all we've got is just the suggestion of birds. But they did remind me of the 2 goose shadows that you see in the credits of PGSM.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Which you can hear us talk about on our Patreon.
Yeah.
So we pan up from the park and we see that the Dark Gate is still over Tokyo and it's making some weird sounds, like some Godzilla movie sounds. Like, and I have to ask again, what do regular people think is happening right now? I know that Japan is a seismically active country, so maybe they're used to volcanoes and phenomenon, but this is just crazy.
They have a lot of natural disasters, but apparently they're just taking it in stride. They're like, oh, here's another one.
Maybe last week it was Godzilla. This week they're like, big mountain, it's fine.
Well, at this point, they're kind of used to weird stuff happening in Azabu-Juban, right?
Remember when that young man's face appeared in the sky and threatened some woman? Named Sailor Moon?
Yeah, exactly.
And all those cops died? No, they were just candles or whatever. We see Usagi running somewhere, possibly home, because we hear a voice, and it's a voiceover of Tuxedo Mask, telling the Senshi to go home and rest up. Yeah, the city's being eaten by a giant crystal science project. Take a nap.
It's weird, right?
They're all going to meet up at the shrine tomorrow. Spoiler alert, we never see that happen. Oh. Usagi's thinking about all this.
I guess I assumed that it was...
It must be off screen. They don't meet up tomorrow. And if this episode goes into the next episode, they're going to meet up after it's all over, I guess. Tomorrow must happen within this episode. We just never see them go to the shrine. That's my point.
Yes, yeah.
Well, Usagi is thinking about all this as she stands on the road, and who should she run into but Naru? Oh my God. Oh, you've been all over milk cartons everywhere. I'm so glad you're safe. She says, you've been acting strange lately. How'd she know? She's barely been on the show.
Yeah.
She says, is that related to the huge crystal? You know something about it, don't you? And Usagi, for like a millisecond, seems to contemplate just telling Naru she's Sailor Moon. Mm-hmm. But she eventually just laughs and says, what do I know? I don't know anything. It's a real Peter Parker moment.
Yes, it is.
Maybe without the doy.
Yeah.
Naru, though, has a close friend of Peter Parker moment when she says, yeah, you don't know. I guess everybody's got things they can't talk about. Mm-hmm. We get the idea that Naru is smarter than this.
Yes.
She knows Usagi's hiding something. Mm-hmm. Maybe not that she's Sailor Moon, but she's involved somehow. She grabs Usagi's hand and says, I won't ask any more questions, but I'll see you at school tomorrow. Promise, okay? I'll see you there. Mm-hmm. It's going to be like a circle of chairs and come on, sit down, Usagi. So she gets it all wrong. She thinks Usagi's on pixie sticks or something like that. It's like, no, I'm a superhero. And Usagi runs off, but Naru prays, please listen, Kami-sama. Please protect Usagi and her friends. Uh-huh. Well, okay, he's done nothing so far, but let's see if Kami-sama steps in this episode. In the reactor room on planet Nemesis, Demando is contemplating the energies of the reactor, and creepy wise guy arrives to say, the time has come. Uh-huh. But Demando immediately fires back, wow, you dare to even come before me after what happened. Why did you kill my brother? Wise guy says, we've worked hard to alter Earth's history. Anyone who betrays that must be eliminated. But Demando's like glowing with anger and probably energy that he has. And he says, that's not your authority to decide. Wise guy says, check this out. And with his crystal ball, he shows him the giant black gate in the past and says, Black Lady's power is almost at its peak, and it's time for our plan of revenge. And we kind of cut to a view of Black Lady as he's saying this, and she's just sitting by herself, and she's like giggling.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is a little weird.
It's a little evil giggling.
Mm-hmm.
Demando's like, our plan. Yeah, I asked you a question. Why did you kill Saphir? Wise man says, I'm going to level with you. The death of your brother is a trifle before the greater good. Did you forget why we're here? Your plan to take revenge on Earth is almost at fruition. Are you going to let his death get in the way of that? What do we talk about when we talk about taking over Earth? And all the while he's saying this, we get these little flashes under his hood and we see what looks like a naked skull under there.
Uh-huh.
Demando says, yeah, we want revenge on Earth. Yeah, we want to move in there. Oh, so we're going to do that.
Uh-huh.
But don't forget, Wise Man, you aren't forgiven. I'm going to look into this. And he leaves. Mm-hmm. And Wise Man says, as you wish, Prince, but that only works if you're still alive. Presumably he says this under his breath.
Right.
Because Demando doesn't pop his head back in like, what was that? What? Back in present Tokyo, the girls and the cats are standing in the road. Like I said, this is where we go. They must have met for breakfast at the shrine, then came here.
Yes.
They're standing in the middle of the road, near the dark gate. And shouldn't the army be here or something? Or at least cops?
Something,
that
yes.
Gundam. But they're just standing in the road.
Yeah.
And they're worried. Tuxedo Mask hasn't come back from infiltrating the crystal, which should have been a quick mission because the crystal is solid. Huh. Yeah, can't get in. It's solid.
I know.
Or maybe it's not. Because this is information that we don't have.
No.
The cats say, well, no time to wait. We got to go in. And they both leap at the crystal, but before they can reach it, they're electrocuted by some force and thrown back, and they're all beat up looking. And the girls think, that didn't work. Let's transform. But they start to transform, but before they can do it, Ami says, thank you, everyone. It would have been nice to eat cake together one more time. I wanted to say that, just in case. Mm-hmm. The girls all think about this. It's kind of fatal bummer idea, Ami.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But Ray's like, how about I'll see you tomorrow night for cake. And Mako's like, let's get all you can eat. And Usagi's like, yeah. Monaco's like, you'll get fat. Read the road, Mina. We're having fun. We're having fun here. They say, let's protect Tokyo and save Chibi-Usa. And we get a 5-way transformation.
Yes.
And as they're transforming, we keep cutting back to the crystal. And it seems as if its energies are growing even stronger and rising, almost in response to the summoning of their own energies. The sailors dash at the crystal, but Sailor Moon is struck by a bolt of dark power and thrown to the ground. Undeterred, she gets up again and runs back at the crystal. Electricity plays over her as she braces herself against the blast, and the sailors encourage her as she vows to find Black Lady, revert her to Chibi-Usa, and defeat this menace. And as she says this, a particularly powerful blast cuts her along her cheek, but she's undeterred. She calls for the other sailors to lend her their power, and all the sailors concentrate their energies together, and they're transported into the heart of the Dark Gate, which I guess is also the evil Black Crystal?
Yeah.
I'm a little lost.
I think it's both. Like the dark...
Today I've learned that the Dark Gate is the evil Black Crystal. Also, you can go inside of the crystal because there's excited inside. So I can roll with this, I think.
Yeah.
I'm up to speed now. Maybe the swirling thing is the gate. The tower thing is also the manifestation of the evil Black Crystal in the past.
Yeah.
But none of this has been given to us.
No.
We're figuring all this out on our own.
I think the gate is, what we see later. But that's like the center. So maybe the whole thing is the gate. But it's a gate. It's very confusing.
Somebody comes through it later.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to the gate.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. Yeah. Inside, they appear to be in a crystalline maze.
Yes.
Like a house of mirrors.
Yes.
And Ami warns them it's dangerous to just walk around. That doesn't stop Sailor Moon from taking a few steps and falling down a hole, separating her from the group. Yep. The hole closes, and the other sailors resolve to find her. Usagi finds herself in a dark chamber, and waiting for her there is Prince Demando, who welcomes her to the inside of his evil Black Crystal. He says, I'm happy to see you again. And Usagi should be reaching for Moon Prism Bear Spray, but Demando leaps forward and grabs her by her arms. He says, today I will make both you and the silver crystal mine. And he does his third eye blinding bit on her. I wish you would step away from that ledge, my friend. He says, give Demando your kiss of allegiance. barf.
Yeah.
And Sailor Moon is falling under his influence. Demando leans in, and a single tear falls from Usagi's eyes as she murmurs, Mama-chan. Demando starts shaking her, and he's like, come on, quietly give yourself over to me.
I know, what?
Sailor Moon snaps out of it and says, even if you make me yours this way, you won't have my love. Demando says, I will take your love. And he spams his eye attack again. But Usagi shuts her eyes. She says, I'm not falling for that again. Love taken through trickery isn't love. Come on, Moon Crystal Dick Tick. Don't engage with this guy. Don't argue with this guy. He's insane.
Well, yes.
Demando says, there is no true or false with love. It's multiple choice. No. He says, love is power. Give me your allegiance. And she starts to be affected by the whammy again. She falls to her knees, and he puts his hand out for her to kiss. Weird. Mm-hmm. But she has a vision of Chibi-Usa and her friends rooting for her, and Naru saying, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll bring literature. And Tuxedo Mask, too. She snaps out of it. She gets up and she says, foolish Demando, nothing can be solved by force. He says, there is no future for us unless we destroy the people of Earth. But Sailor Moon says, why do you have to take? Why can't we live together? He says, you denied us that. We can't coexist. Now she is. She's really going in. She's going like 3 or 4 posts in on this wacko.
Right.
And she says, no, the Ayakashi sisters are totally happy on Earth. But Demando says, but Wise Man said, wait a minute. I think this guy's getting ready to screw us. Usagi's like, yeah, Saphir was going to say that when he was killed by Wise Man. Jeez, I'm Usagi and I get this.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to be Machiavelli. Although she probably thinks it's Mastacholi. You don't have to be Mastacholi. Demando's on board now. He knows Usagi's telling the truth, and he's just about to talk more with Usagi when, dun-dun-dun, Wise Guy himself shows up, saying, Sailor Moon stands in our way. Dispose of her. And Demando says, don't tell me what to do. Wise Guy says, I have no use for a tool that doesn't work. I've got Black Lady and the Dark Power. You're fired. And he blasts Demando with Dark Power from his ball. Demando, however, says, I'm Prince Demando of the Black Moon Clan. Take me down if you can. I'm a poet and I don't know it. And he blasts back. Wise Guy disappears, but Demando leaps up and flying kicks him when he reappears. It's like, this guy's watching Dragon Ball. Wise Guy says, destroy the earth and plunge it into darkness. That's the desire of Death Phantom, ruler of darkness. And they Dragon Ball blast each other. Nobody seems to be getting the upper hand, but Wise Guy turns his blast on Sailor Moon, who's just standing there. Come on, kid.
Yeah.
And he says, die. And I guess this is a sharp blast because we see a body being penetrated. Calm down. And we think for a moment that it's Sailor Moon. But as we pull back, we see that Demando has thrown himself over Usagi to protect her. Demando gets up, holding his guts in, and Wise Guy says, still standing, huh? Die with Sailor Moon! And blasts again, but Demando blasts more! And the Wise Guy's hands shatter, and his cloak falls to the ground empty, leaving only his crystal ball, which floats to the ground and goes dark. Demando collapses, and Usagi runs to his aid. He says, I was mistaken. We wanted to emigrate here, and I was willing to risk my life for that. And take the citizenship test and everything. But I fell for Wise Man's deception and allowed many to be sacrificed. I forgot my heart as a human. And Usagi says, but you saved me. And across the room, the image of a skull appears in the crystal ball as it begins to float again, to levitate. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Usagi doesn't see this, but she says to Demando, if you realize your mistake, you can be forgiven. And Demando says, well, maybe so. I mean, the Ayakashi are happy. You tried to save Saphir. Maybe we can live together with the people of Earth. And all while this is happening, the parts of Wise Guy are sliding together across the floor, reforming into the creepy Wise Guy as his cloak rises from the floor. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. And Usagi says, we need your help to live together. But he says, are you crying for me? They're like having 2 different conversations. They're talking past each other. She's crying generally. It'd be hard to cry for him. He assaulted her many times. But he says, you are the ones who will build the future. And Wise Guy is almost whole again. Want to wrap this up here? Demando says, please take care of the Black Moon Clan for me. And now Usagi is crying. It's sad. Demando says, Sailor Moon, I love you. And he dies. Mm-hmm. And that's when creepy wise guy grabs Sailor Moon by the throat.
Yeah.
And says, give me the silver crystal which can change the world. Sailor Moon says, even if I die, the answer is no. He says again, give it to me. But Usagi only calls for Tuxedo Mask. At this, wise guy laughs. Uh-oh. We see his eyes glow, and he says, look at what Tuxedo Mask is doing right now. And we see an image of Mamoru and Chibi-Usa. They're just like holding hands and walking. Mm-hmm. Wise guy says, he has bound his heart to that of Chibi-Usa's. In other words, you have been discarded. Is this back to the Mamo and Chibi are going out thing again?
I think, yeah, a little bit.
She's a 15-year-old girl, 14, whatever. Come on. I mean, I'm going to assume that she's being influenced by the dark power of creepy wise guy. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, we'll talk about it.
We will.
Anyway, she seems upset, but she says, you can't trick me with illusions. And he says, it's not an illusion. And we see an illusion of Tuxedo Mask and Black Lady embracing. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's still weird, but yeah. I guess that this is the payoff for all. Again, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Wise guy says, there's nothing in the world that can be trusted. There's nothing safe in this world. Hey, little sister, hands off Mamo. He says, Sailor Moon, hate all things.
I know.
Hurt everyone.
Yeah, right.
Did Gaga just say hurt everyone? Put all of your hate into the silver crystal and turn the world to darkness. So this is his plan. Would this work? Is this a last-ditch plan?
Yeah.
We'll talk about this too. Usagi thinks, Mamo and Chibi betrayed me. That's terrible. But she sees another thank God for visions. She sees another vision of Chibi, presumably a memory in her head, saying, please believe me. And she snaps out of it again, and she starts to get up. Wise Man says, why? Why, Miss Tsukino? Why do you persist? Why get up? What are you fighting for? Is it love or Mamoru? Could it be for crepes? It's pointless to keep fighting. Usagi says, Chibi and Mamo are precious to me. I have faith in them. And Wise Guy says, okay then, die! And fires dark energy at her, which is knocked away by a red rose thrown by Tuxedo Mask. Mm-hmm. There is nothing these roses can't do.
I know. Really, literally nothing.
Double down on Simpsons references, but it's like Homer Simpson's gun. You know, he can just throw it at the light and smashes the light. You turn out the lights. He says, toying with an innocent maiden's heart, I will not allow such an underhanded deed. And Usagi is jazzed about this, but we hear, we're here too! And all four Sailor Senshi arrive and pose. Oh, no. They're all just waiting in the wings.
Seriously.
Wise Guy's like, it's pretty impressive. You're all here just in time for Black Lady's power to reach its full potential. And now the Dark Gate shall be opened. And Usagi's like, Ankoku Gato? Yes, Usagi, keep up. We've been talking about this for 12 episodes. It's easy to understand. Wise Guy disappears, and Tuxedo Mask says, I found the center of the gate. Let's go! The show, yada yada's this, so I will too. They're on top of the Crystal Tower.
Yeah, right.
From the center of the swirling black cloud, Black Lady appears. She says, I am Black Lady, messenger of Death Phantom. Soon all the world will fall, and all will turn to the darkness of hatred. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
We gotta stop. We're done. Like, this is, more of a two-parter than really anything has been so far. Like, this is definitely leading right into the next one.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That being said, how much is in the next one that there are big swaths of this that they just go, things happen. And then, okay, now we're here.
There's a lot, but...
Like, they don't want to repeat themselves. They don't want to, fight their way up a crystal tower like they literally did that last time. But,
right.
They've put themselves in this situation. And Tuxedo Mask, who, in a flashback that we never saw, he was like, I'm going to go check this out. And then just shows up. And
I know.
Like, I found the thing. Let's go. And then they go to the thing.
I know.
It's just weird.
It is a little weird. They do yada yada a lot of stuff. And then it's kind of like... But I think we've talked about before how this season is a little weirdly paced.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Like, the things that they decide they want to focus on.
And a lot of droids making a lot of different confectionaries when we could have been doing this instead.
Like, I like that we got to know the Ayakashi sisters so well, but, what if we had gotten to spend a little bit more time like in the future, And I like that we had Aelin on and the small little Aelin on arc, but again,
let's not bring them into this.
Okay. All right. I won't.
Let's talk about levitating.
Yeah.
Last week we more or less recommended, shouted out Dua Lipa's single "Levitating," which features a Sailor Moon video.
Yeah.
I should never recommend anything without listening to the entire thing, because I said in the thing that I watched like 45 seconds, and then I was like, I get it, and then I moved on.
Right.
So I didn't know that DaBaby guests on it, and I would never recommend anything that DaBaby is in. Not until he, apologizes for the things that he said about homosexuals. Mm-hmm. So don't watch the Dua Lipa thing if you haven't already. Damage done, I guess.
Yeah. I take back my recommendation if you can ever do that.
I mean, if you like it, fine. But I don't want to misrepresent myself or, this show that we do and recommend something that I wouldn't myself patronize because of ideological reasons.
Yeah. And if you want to know more about
and
what's
you know what?
going
And
on,
DaBaby wouldn't want me to
Google
listen.
It.
He wouldn't want me to listen.
Yeah.
Because he and I disagree.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there you go.
All
right, good. Enough time spent on that.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
All right.
Here are the dangers of being jealous of a 6-year-old in a universe where you can get boobs in 3 seconds.
Oh boy.
I feel like now you can, it's like the serial killer. You never think that the serial killer was right. But as he's going off to jail and you see his torture shrine or whatever, and you realize what he's been through, you go, this guy's a human being. He's going away for a long time. But
wow.
But I understand how pain can drive somebody to do terrible things. I don't know how we got there. Let's go back to where we were. So I understand now why they're doing this thing or why they did this thing. And they planted it early. But like you said, because of the weird pacing, it never pays off. And you never want it to pay off.
No.
But the idea of her being jealous of a 6-year-old, which is a very immature thing for even a 14-year-old to do.
Yep.
But she is. Now, because of weird magics, Chibi is at least physically an adult.
Yeah.
And so her worst fears about that can be realized. But it comes at a time where, screw time. We don't want to see this happen, period. Even if he's mind controlled or whatever. If they kiss in the next episode, it's going down a letter grade. Or a star grade, no matter what.
Fair.
But 2, we're way too far in the story of these two for this even to be a thing. Let's say, and once again, we don't want to fix the show, but let's say in the first half of season 2, there's a mysterious villain of which we know not, but we know that she's an evil female. She's an evil woman. And she keeps coming in and messing with things. Or she keeps, sneaking up on Mamo and being sort of flirtatious with him. And then later on, we find out that Chibi is werewolfing into Black Lady at night. Like, this is a dark side of her.
Oh, see? Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But at this point, Usagi and Mamoru have been apart. They're driven apart by himself in the future, which is another weird thing that we did not talk about enough. And they've already come back together. They've been through so much. They're literally coming here to save Chibi, whether or not she's a little girl or like a goth Hot Topic reject.
Yeah.
So why would, unless wise men can also affect your emotions with his power, why at this point would you even care about that? And to be fair, unless it continues next episode, it's a little blip in this episode. It doesn't last long. But I feel like he's going through this whole toolbox of stuff to try to to break her at the end.
This is what he does. This is what he did with Chibi-Usa as
well.
But
I mean, but I'm just saying, exactly. You're right. And I think that I'm weirded out by it, but I find myself kind of rooting for it because it would make her being jealous of a child make sense earlier in the show and show that they planned all this to then have some kind of gambit where not only does Black Lady have adult power now because of her new body, but also she is, now a somewhat fitting match for Mamoru.
It's weird and gross.
Who is 18 and probably shouldn't be dating a 14-year-old, but it's Japan.
And is also technically her future father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, so in the manga, the phrase that you loathe to hear the most on the show, so as Black Lady, she basically mind controls Mamo and
we get what I'm afraid of.
Okay. They do actually kiss.
Right.
And it is
You're a sick puppy, Nako.
Yeah.
That's how it is in their family.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think there's so much love for Black Lady and people love this character. They just don't talk about it.
They don't think about it.
And then when it does come up, it's like, yeah, that's weird and uncomfortable, and I feel really weirded out by that.
Move over to Dark Mercury, you freaks. Leave this little girl alone.
I know.
If you took a little kid,
yeah,
and you put them in like a robot suit that made them look like a woman, there'd be a little kid.
I know.
Right?
I know.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But it's magic, whatever.
It's magic.
Let's talk about magic. I just realized, because of this episode, that Usagi is the perfect person to carry the silver crystal. Here's why. And again, here's a thing that we could have really played off of, and I feel like it's just thrown in at the end as one of a bouquet of things that Wiseman is trying to do to break Usagi. But he's trying to do the whole, nobody likes you, everybody hates you, eat some worms thing on her.
Yep.
But he's doing it to someone who possesses a crystal that can alter reality.
That's true.
So clearly this is not the end gambit. Like the whole thing with shooting the thing through the stuff, back in time, does the thing, got the reactor. He understands it, I guess.
Right.
Got Black Lady. As long as it makes sense to him. That is the plan. But this is like getting the golden snitch. Like if he can convince this weak-willed girl to imagine a universe that is doused in darkness.
Yes.
And has the power, has the Infinity Gauntlet, then job's done right there.
Well, and then he
should have done that the whole time.
Yeah, maybe. And then he could have had her destroy the crystal for him. Then he doesn't even have to do it.
Right. So, like, the crystal is still, we don't talk about it as much in post-Dark Kingdom, but it is the ring of power. You know what I mean? It is this incredibly powerful thing. It is the Infinity Gauntlet. It is whatever.
Yes.
And just like in The Lord of the Rings, you give it to Frodo, an unassuming hobbit, because he is the least ambitious person, and he is the least likely to be tempted by all the wonders and delights of power that it can show him.
He's a pure heart, like Usagi.
Yeah, it's a pure heart. I'm trying to say that they're both. I'm trying to say that they're both too simple to really be affected by it.
Oh, you made it sad.
Well, one is more simple than the other.
I guess
I'm just saying, yes, okay, they're too pure, fine.
I was going off of like what
although they don't ever really play that up. Nobody's like, you know, the bad guys want it for bad things. The good guys are just like, oh yeah, that's this crystal. It isn't like Mamo's like, oh, if I could have an even better car if I get my hands on that crystal. Like it doesn't, there's no evil spirit in the crystal like there is within the ring.
Well, that's true. That is a good distinction.
But power does corrupt.
Yes, but you
not
know,
Usagi or Frodo.
No,
there's a fan art.
Usagi as Frodo, or the other way around, or
Moon,
them together.
prism, power, eagles, fly to Mordor. We're done.
You know what Tuxedo Mask said about Usagi being innocent and the pure of heart and everything, and then like her, like, if you do believe that she's crying for Dimando because she is that freaking pure, she doesn't want to. Just when he's turned good, she doesn't want to see him like die, and she was upset over Saphir dying like last episode too. So this is just Usagi's way. She's
like if it was Mako, like she just grinds a boot into his face like the end of Death Proof or something.
I don't. Yeah,
Fix that.
I don't know. I mean, yes, honestly, I think Mako would be a little harder than that, you know? So
Ray's just like, I'm not sure he's dead. Incinerates him. just give Dimando a little paper bag. There you go. I mean, you cremate everybody in Japan anyway, so.
That's true.
Did you get some Star Wars Return of the Jedi in here? The mysterious robe-clad evil leader.
Yeah, that's a good point.
His knight, wearing white instead of black in this case, who is turned by the blonde hero at the end, right before their death. And then, of course, the big tool of the evil leader is to feel your anger, give in to your hate.
Right, and instead of like a force choke, it's an actual choke.
Yeah, it's just a real choke.
It's just a real choke. Good point. And I have to say, I mean, I guess it goes without saying, like Japan, Kurosawa in particular, and Japan and samurais influenced Star Wars.
Visions.
And then
Oh, Visions
then,
is anime.
Yeah.
We'll do Visions on, maybe we'll do a special anime.
Do a special?
Where we just cheat.
Where we specifically talk
about
about that.
Yeah.
We could do that. But Star Wars is incredibly popular in Japan. It makes a lot of sense. So I could totally, yes, now that you're mentioning that.
It's cool that they like it and they're not just like, hey, you're making fun of us?
Oh, no. There's
like
a lot of respect there.
I pulled my lightsaber out. They're like, are you making fun of us? Who did that? Look, this guy in a flannel shirt? I don't think so.
I know, right?
Oh, I love Kurosawa films. Okay, keep walking. Yeah, I just kind of felt that. Also the idea of, it's been a long time, but we have finally begun, or perhaps are in the process of, or maybe we're already done. We have paid off the idea that she got stronger.
I think so.
She is running in the end credits. She's running in this. She's going right to left because it's Japan.
Yeah.
She's running towards the future. She's running towards something. 30 episodes ago, I said she's weak now, but she'll get stronger.
Yes.
Not just for Mamo's love,
No.
for herself.
Yeah.
And she does. And when two men are trying to victimize her, she saves herself.
She does.
Then, because it's contractually obligated, when
Tuxedo
she's
Mask
physically attacked, then Tuxedo Mask's all-purpose roses protects her from that. But that we've seen that a million times.
Mm-hmm.
But she, has her will challenged, and she is belittled by these guys, and she stands up, and she has whether she knows it or not, whether she's even keeping track, she has absolutely reached this goal that she decided on outside of that perfume shop so many episodes ago.
Yeah, she has. I also think it's kind of cool that we get that moment with Naru at the beginning where it seems like she maybe thinks she might be Sailor Moon.
Well, maybe
but
Naru,
she's not 100%
if Naru had
sure.
been on the show, we could track this. But maybe Naru senses something different in her. Maybe Naru sees this change.
I think she does. Yeah.
In her.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wanted to... Do you remember in Sailor Moon Drops when, things wouldn't be going well, and then, all of a sudden Tuxedo Mask would, pop up and be like, oh, I see things aren't going well. And it's like, well, for this many... I can't remember what it was. You had to have, a certain amount of points or whatever.
When I played Sailor Moon Drops, I hadn't watched the show.
I know,
so I
but he would, show up and offer to help you, but you had to have, enough money or something like that.
I just knew there was a race car driver. That's all I knew. I was like, I got the race car driver.
Yeah, but I was always annoyed. It'd be like, stop trying to offer to save me, Tuxedo Mask. Go away. So, anyways.
I'll do it myself. Backtracking is back for an all-new season. Hi, I'm Caliban.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
And we'd like to introduce you to Backtracking, the podcast that explores the real-world inspirations behind your favorite episodes of Star Trek.
From historical events to classical literature to blockbuster films, we go where no pod has gone before to seek out the origins of classic Trek tales.
Did you know, Gooey, that the TNG episode Too Short a Season was an allegory for the Iran-Contra affair?
Yeah, only sweatier. Did you know that the Enterprise episode Regeneration was an homage to the John Carpenter film The Thing?
Archer and T'Pol freezing to death over a bottle of whiskey would have been a controversial ending.
As a dog lover, Archer would not like The Thing, I'm guessing.
Oh my god, movie night is cancelled. Join us every other Thursday for a journey back to the beginnings of the Trek universe.
Backtracking is available wherever you get your podcasts.
No, Porthos!
For Kyoro Kyoro Miru, or Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, today I thought we'd talk about immigrating to Japan.
Nice.
Yeah, because...
I've heard about that.
Yeah, Demando was talking about how his clan wanted to...
Gonna move the whole thing in there.
Move to Earth. The number of foreign residents, excluding illegal immigrants or short-term foreign visitors and tourists staying more than 90 days in Japan, was more than 2.88 million at the end of 2020, with an estimated population of 125.57 million in 2020. So the resident foreign population in Japan was approximately 2.29% of the total population. In 1990, new government legislation provided South Americans of Japanese ancestry, such as Japanese Brazilians and Japanese Peruvians, with preferential working visa immigration status. By 1998, there were 222,217 Brazilian nationals registered as residents in Japan, with an additional smaller group from Peru. And I guess if people aren't aware, there are a lot of Japanese people who moved to Brazil after World War II.
Sure.
Which I don't know if we really want to get into that a whole lot, but
there's a lot of fires in wastebaskets.
Yeah.
And a lot of new names.
Yes. But that it happened, and there were a
Someday.
lot of
I've told you before, you just go through, you look through, you find the Nazi-esque villain you can find. I guess it wouldn't even be the Nazis, but you just find like the worst villain coming up, and we'll just save all the good. I mean, we did Nanjing, right?
Yeah, I know.
But we'll tackle all that soon.
In 2009, with economic conditions less favorable, this trend was then reversed as the Japanese government introduced a new program that would incentivize Brazilian and Peruvian immigrants to return home with a stipend of $3,000 for airfare and $2,000 for each dependent.
In how many bucks? What year bucks?
This would be in 2009 bucks.
That's not a lot.
No. And it's like 11 years after they were initially incentivized to come over.
Yeah.
So, not great.
Turn it around.
Yep. As of the second half of 2015, with an increasingly elderly Japanese population and lack of manpower in key sectors, such as construction, IT, and healthcare, Japanese politicians are again debating the need to expand temporary foreign labor pools through the use of short-term trainee programs. And this has kind of gone in and out of favor, and they kind of go back and forth on this. And they talk about it a lot, but it's kind of unclear how serious they are about really making Japan an enticing place to live and work for foreigners.
Well, I know that we'll get into the reasons why the Japanese maybe don't want a lot of foreigners in there in a little bit, but just for perspective, I wanted to say that the U.S. population, this is a pretty recent statistic, is about 13 or 14% immigrants, which is about like 45 million. And that is up. There's been an increase in immigrants. Some people are not happy about that. Other people will realize that has gone up and down in our nation's history. Mm-hmm. But it was very low from like the late 60s and 70s. And it has just steadily increased since then.
Right.
I would also argue that the economy has gone up since then.
Well, I think that actually I read that Japan in general is more concerned about people leaving the country who are Japanese and going to live and work somewhere else than foreigners coming in.
Oh, emigres.
Yes, exactly. So they don't like that because I think they, we all know, we've talked about how their population is drastically decreasing and will continue to decrease quite a bit. And I think maybe they feel like kind of upset that Japanese people are choosing to move and live somewhere else instead of Japan.
Doesn't it? It sucks to be an American and know so little about so many other countries, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Sometimes, yeah.
Because there are so many countries that are like, what's a Belgian?
Oh, wow.
They speak English, they speak German, they
Sure.
speak, they are a country that is a region, but is made up of, they have a very recent national identity, as a lot of countries in Europe do.
Yeah.
Although there's regional and there's ethnic identities.
Right.
And so, I think that in principle, what we've done here on this side of the Atlantic is a good idea where you go, it don't matter who you are,
Yeah.
you can come here and it's a place to be free and it's a place to live with other people and that's fine. Well, we forget that not everybody's like that. And some people who have lived on an island for thousands of years have a very defined cultural identity.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily want a lot messing with that. And
Yeah,
so they
that's
say,
part of it.
come here, and work. Oh, no, too many. Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. No, not you. You're Japanese. You get back here.
Right. Yeah, I do think that is a big part of it. Japan receives a low number of immigrants compared to other G7 countries. This is consistent with Gallup data, which shows that Japan is an exceptionally unpopular migrant destination to potential migrants, with the number of potential migrants wishing to migrate to Japan 12 times less than those who wish to migrate to the U.S. and 3 times less than those who wish to migrate to Canada, which roughly corresponds to the actual relative differences in migrant inflows between the 3 countries. So it also in 2006, according to data released by the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, 44,701 marriages, or 6.11% of all marriages registered in Japan, were to a foreign national. And in 2013, this number had fallen to 21,488 marriages, or 3.25% of all marriages. And of those international marriages registered in 2013, 15,442, or 71.77%, were marriages involving a foreign bride, compared to 28.23% where the groom was non-Japanese.
Okay. So
I guess the overall trend, again, this is just statistics that you have to be reported, you have to. So this isn't necessarily 100% accurate, but according to this, there are more foreign brides married to Japanese nationals than foreign grooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
Japanese men travel more because they, are overwhelmingly in business. And
that is true.
Sometimes they go to Chicago to have some Goose Island, and maybe they meet people when they're abroad, And, whereas if you're a Japanese woman, you've already got these expectations on you of, being a homemaker or being part of a family unit. And so when do you get out to go somewhere?
I do think that is changing a little bit, but
sure.
That's probably a big part of it, for sure. I do want to mention perhaps the obvious. If you are a foreigner in Japan, you will stick out like a sore thumb just because you look different.
Unless you're James Bond.
Unless you're James Bond. Because James Bond fits in wherever he goes.
Yeah, especially when they try to make him look more Japanese.
Oh, Lord. I know. I'm uncomfortable. But
You
it was
only
the 60s.
Live twice, and you're getting canceled in both lives.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the term gaijin is a derogatory term that means foreigner. It actually literally means outsider, which is why it is seen as derogatory. And then I was reading somewhere that most of the time when Japanese people use the term gaijin, they actually are referring specifically to Westerners, so people from Europe or the Americas, and not for people from Asia. When they are referring to non-Japanese people who are from Asia, they use the term gaikokujin, which means someone who is outside of Japan. So that's actually all foreigners.
Huh.
But for some reason, there is that distinction. By the way, the top 3 groups of foreigners living in Japan are from Asia, not surprisingly.
Sure.
Chinese make up 810,000, Korean 440,000, and Vietnamese 410,000.
These are some real round numbers for Japan. I know they know the last decimal point, for these people.
Yeah.
Census-wise, but...
Okay, I didn't get them from the census.
You just found some.
So,
yeah,
but...
They know exactly how many Chinese people are in Japan.
You are probably absolutely 100% correct about that. One issue that a lot of foreigners who live in Japan face, they will always be considered a foreigner. No matter how long they live there, no matter how excellent their Japanese language skills are, even if they marry someone who is Japanese. If you are born in America, you are an American. Even if your parents, have recently come to the country. But that is not necessarily true in Japan. Being born in Japan does not grant you Japanese citizenship. Japan only recognizes, and this is Latin, jus sanguine, and that's right of blood, and not jus soli, right of soil. In other words, your nationality is determined by one or both of your parents, not where you were born. Japanese citizenship is also exclusive. Those who naturalize must renounce their first nationality, and those who are born Japanese but with a second citizenship must choose between them by the time they are 20 years old.
Elves.
Yeah.
Half elves.
I actually remember reading about Naomi Osaka. She had to do that, and I believe she chose her Japanese citizenship. But it kind of sucks, like having a dual citizenship is a cool thing, I think. But
yeah, but I mean that's what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, that is what we're talking about.
Japan for Japanese people.
Yeah, I know. And then speaking of citizenship, foreigners who have lived in Japan for at least 5 consecutive years, and it's less if you're married to a Japanese national, have demonstrated good behavior and have, no law troubles, or not much, have never plotted against the Japanese government. That's important. And
you're out of here, Mishima.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. I've taken your Japanese citizenship card away. You have sufficient assets, or you're able to support yourself, and you're willing to renounce your other citizenships, you can be granted Japanese citizenship.
It's like they won't let some people in the country if they have a criminal record.
Yeah.
As far as just immigrating, but also just visiting, above a certain level, they're just like, yeah,
we don't need
you to come in here.
Yeah,
that's okay.
They're a little strict in a lot of ways, I would say. it can be a little disheartening, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Japan has historically been one of the world's most generous donors to refugee relief and resettlement programs overseas. In 2014, it was the world's second largest financial contributor to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees programs. That being said, out of the thousands of refugee applicants annually, very few of them are approved. Recent low approval rates for asylum applications follow historic trends, and in a 22-year period, 22 years, from 1982 to 2004, a total of 330 applications for asylum were approved. An average of 15 per year.
It's out of, I'm assuming more than that.
Yeah, we're talking, like 30,000-ish at least a year. Yeah. It's a lot. It's extremely difficult to get approved for asylum, and it's not unheard of for people to get rejected multiple times without any reason as to why their application was rejected. It's really disheartening. And like a lot of times there's, people are there, they're able to work a lot of times while they're, some people feel used. It's like, I've lived in this country for, for 8 years, and
I've been making YouTube videos the whole time.
Right. Well, but they feel like they're taking these jobs that the Japanese people don't want to work.
Yeah.
And then they're not granting them asylum. And so that what happens, how many times do they get rejected and they're able to stay there? I mean, at some point, it's hard for the Japanese government to deport people. And they were trying to make that easier, but Japan was considering a controversial bill regarding asylum seekers earlier this year. The bill would have let asylum seekers file only 2 applications before being deported to their home country, where they were seeking asylum from.
Yeah.
It's not okay. The UN was not supportive of this. The only exception was unless a new justification for a third consideration was put forth. But the government's withdrawal of the bill came because there was a lot of public attention and pressure over the issue. There was a controversy earlier this year due to the tragic death of Rathnayake Liang Wishma Rathnayake, who was from Sri Lanka. And so the bill was abandoned. And even though she was not an asylum seeker, Rathnayake died in early March of 2021 at an immigration detention center in Nagoya. And it's really upsetting. She went to police in August of 2020 because she was seeking help to get out of a violent domestic situation.
Yeah.
And because her visa had expired, they put her in a detention center, and they didn't listen to her when her health was deteriorating. And also, when somebody tells you, there are certain things in place that when somebody tells you, it doesn't matter that their visa has expired. When somebody comes to you and tells you, I'm trying to get out of this difficult situation, you believe that person and there are steps in place.
Yeah.
They got in big trouble. They're looking at this. But it's very upsetting. So yeah, that's an extreme case. Most of the time I don't think that happens. But it brought a lot of attention to just how poorly immigrants can be treated in Japan. The definition of ethnic and racial boundaries alongside national ones leads many people to represent Japan as Tan-Itsu Minzoku Koka, or an ethnically homogenous nation. with an explicit purity of blood and culture.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. In 2005, former Japanese Prime Minister Taro Aso described Japan as being a nation of, quote, one race, one civilization, one language, and one culture.
I don't remember the Freddie Mercury song going that way.
Oh, man.
One race.
Yeah. Yeah.
One culture.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. So that's like the negative side, right? I mean, look, Japan is very homogenous. And I think that that's one thing that the people who are foreigners in Japan, one thing that they struggle with, right? Because a lot of people who run into foreigners don't necessarily have a lot of experience with foreigners, you know? Yeah, so I mean, that's part of it. And everybody's interested in things that are different, right? So, but everybody reacts differently. And I guess this is not really a great transition, but I do have, because I was a foreigner in Japan, even though I was only there for 6 months, I do have some foreigner stories that I can share. I'm not sure if I've shared this one before or not, but so I lived in this town, Hikone, which is a smaller city on Lake Biwa. And my school was mostly foreigners, but there was only about 40 of us, but there was 40 foreigners at any given time living in this city. So I kind of was surprised when this happened, but so you would kind of think that people would be somewhat used to seeing foreigners around, but maybe not necessarily the case. But I was in the downtown area by myself, and there is a Japanese high schooler who was walking in one direction, and he was by himself, and all of a sudden he saw me, and he was like surprised, and he was like, "Oh, gaijin," you know, and just said,
"That's me."
Yeah, and I was like, "Dude, I can understand you," because I think there's also this assumption if you're a foreigner, you don't speak Japanese or you don't understand the language. Like, would he have even said that if he knew I understood him or understood what that meant?
Yeah.
But it's just a weird thing because, like, I don't feel like that would happen in America. Like, first of all, you can't look at somebody in America and know that they're a foreigner. I don't feel like, because, you know, they're so diverse. So, but it was just a weird experience. And it's one of those things that was like, I know he didn't like necessarily mean to be rude or anything, because the Japanese are excruciatingly polite, but it was still a weird experience. And then you do get a lot of people like staring at you, and I didn't mind so much when it was like little kids. But I do remember, like, on the train, like, sometimes people would stare at you.
Yeah.
Who were adults, and that was, like, a little uncomfortable. You're like, do I have something on my face?
Yeah.
But there was this one time I was in a grocery store, and there was, like, this little girl who was, like, 3, and she was just staring at me. Like, I'm sure she had never seen a foreigner like me before, and I was like, I said hi, and she just hid behind her mom's leg. So yeah, I was terrifying. And then the other thing that I wanted to share was like, so this is something I'll get to it, but this is something that comes up for a lot of foreigners. But everyone at my school, we had conversation partners.
Right.
And they would come about once a week for an hour. And I actually had 2 conversation partners, and I would practice my Japanese with them, and they would get to practice their English with me. So it was really cool. One of my conversation partners invited me to her house for New Year's, and that's maybe a story for another time, but it was really cool. We had a lot of fun. So I spent New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with her and her parents. Her parents couldn't speak a lot of English, and at one point they said something that she got really upset and frustrated with them about, and she turned to me and she like apologized, and she said that they were really impressed with how well I could use my chopsticks. This is what I'm talking about. So this is something that foreigners get a lot. And she had told them that that was not an okay thing to say, because it's, you know, anybody can learn, but it's kind of like this assumption that if you're not born in Asia, you don't learn how to use chopsticks, which is kind of like,
I mean, it's kind of a compliment, but
it's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. Oh, she didn't stab herself in the eye.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But she was like just super embarrassed by it because, and I told her that it was okay, but it really upset her because she had such a strong interest in learning about other countries and other cultures and travel and that sort of thing. I think she, you know, just was like, gosh, Mom and Dad, you're making me look bad, you know?
Yeah.
And later my conversation partner and I were out with some of her friends, and one of her friends asked if she could touch my hair. And I said, sure. And then all of her friends wanted to touch my hair. And before I knew it, there were like 3 or 4 Japanese women touching my hair and talking about how soft my hair was and that it was such a different texture from Japanese hair. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm a little weirded out by this. But yeah, that was kind of a strange experience. But you know, not necessarily a negative one.
Yeah,
so
it's fine.
Yeah,
you're in a strange land, I guess. But yeah, don't ask other people if you can touch their hair.
Generally,
we're gonna
speaking,
give it a pass. This time, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? No actual food in it. However, we do get a lot of dialogue about cake.
Yeah.
And I like it because we have seen them eat cake together before. And this is like the smallest of nitpicks, but we don't see them eat cake together at Crown in this season. And Crown is the restaurant. So Mitoki works at Arcade Crown, or Crown Arcade. Which is it? Now I don't remember which one it is.
Game Center Crown.
Game Center Crown. Thank you. And I don't know if we've talked about this before or not, but his family owns it. And his sister works at a restaurant that is called Crown. His family owns that too. So his family are small business owners. So I don't know if the restaurant's name is ever mentioned.
So you're telling me that Game Center Crown is the Cheers to whatever the seafood restaurant is upstairs of Cheers?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
On Cheers, what's it called? Shoney's or something. You know, the Shoney's is a real restaurant. I can't remember what it's called. But, like, the idea about Cheers is it's not just a bar. Like, it's where you hang out while you're waiting for your table at the restaurant upstairs. But we never see upstairs.
Okay. Yeah, more or less. Okay. I imagine they're relatively close to each other. They might not be, like, right on top of each other like Cheers. But, yeah.
Right.
But, yeah. So, my smallest of nitpick is we don't actually see them eating cake together at Crown this season. But I still think it's a really sweet moment. And I also like Mako saying, let's protect the peace and have some cake afterward. It's just an instant classic line. I love it. Especially coming from somebody who likes to cook and bake.
Right.
Just chef's kiss. That's all I have to say about that. Villain gauge, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. I thought we would talk about and rate Prince Demando.
I suppose that it's time.
Yeah. It's really hard for me to look at him objectively.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't do a whole lot besides sit in his throne and drink wine and kidnap, manipulate, brainwash, and forcibly kiss Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to root for him. I know that like he like right at the 11th hour was like, wait, wise man, you know, after he's seen his brother get brutally killed.
Yeah.
And then like protects Sailor Moon from getting hurt. And I guess he kind of...
I mean, Darth Vader choked a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people.
That is true.
Before he flipped his switch.
Why do I feel more sympathy for Darth Vader than I do for Demando?
Because Darth Vader's not an immigrant.
No.
Yeah. It's prickly.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I mean, I know that he also loves Usagi in like his own way, but it's weird and creepy and it's not really love.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a whole lot else to say about him. I mean, what do you think? Like, anything else that you want to say, or do you feel like he's gotten a fair shake? Or
I think that we can. Hannibal Lecter is one of the most well-loved and famous villains of all time, and he is a cannibal.
That's true.
Who eats people and also psychologically manipulates them. And, you know, he feeds them their own brains, and he's a bad guy. Dracula is basically a rapist from out of town.
That is true.
And he's one of the, you know, the greatest villains of all time.
I also like Dracula. Yeah.
So if we is a rapist in rented form aware. So if we divorce, you know, the morality of the actions from the character, how well do they succeed at what it is they do? How well do they represent the kind of force that they represent? How compelling is their story?
Yeah.
That's what we rate them on.
Okay, I think I'll rate him a little bit better than what I was going to initially rate him, but I still just can't. I can't. And I wish I had given Saphir a higher rating too.
Oh.
But I'm gonna give him 3 out of 5 Dark Stars.
Okay.
I was gonna give him a 2.
I think it's fair. I think I'm gonna go 4.
Wow.
And I feel weird about it, but I think that other than this honestly weird obsession that he has with Usagi that we don't have a chance to evaluate because he dies. We don't have to figure out, like, does he remind her of somebody, or is he just like blondes, or like what, you know, why is this so important to him? Because it isn't like, you know, why wise men might want to control her for, you know, her power in the silver crystal. Like he just likes her. Mm-hmm. And this is look, I get that it's weird. This is a weird time to say that, you know, a villain who is basically a guy who won't take no for an answer is better than another villain who won't. But he's a villain. That's the point.
I know.
And I think that he's got a lot of style.
He does have a lot of style. I will give him that.
You know, except for the fact that he has kind of been deceived and he's built. I like the idea that he's got a lot of faculties. He's smart, he's powerful, and he's just been totally fooled by this guy in a cloak. Yeah. To the point where he's basically just working for him. And
he doesn't know he's working for
everybody
him. Everybody
is resentful on Planet Nemesis, but there could have been a situation where they show up on Earth and go, look, you probably don't remember, but we used to live here. You know, we could probably help out and do stuff if you just give us a place to live. You know, and just, it would have been tense, but that could have been an option. Yeah. And it was completely, he just never even thought of it because he was just so caught up in this crusade that wise men had helped start. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact that he's kind of tragic in that way, and he's kind of deluded. He's super tough. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess Wiseman is also tough because he wins, but he's able to basically just, you know, fight him power for power until he kind of has to sacrifice himself. So I think he's a strong villain, you know. I guess I gave Esmeralda 4. So is he an Esmeralda level?
Maybe. I think I gave her a 5. So
maybe not.
Yeah.
But that's what my gut tells me right now.
All right. That's fair. You gotta go
when
with
this
your gut.
guy goes or this girl goes, would you want to see more of them? Yeah, we could have had more with this guy.
We could have, I would have liked to, if we're going to redeem him, I guess I would have liked to have seen more than just at the 11th hour. But then maybe I would feel a little bit better about it. I still am not a huge fan of the idea of Demando Usagi ship. Which,
no.
Which I have seen repeatedly through drawings and cosplay, and
let's not do that.
Yeah, I just can't really get behind it.
But if people can like Black Lady, I can think that that Demando was an okay villain.
Oh wow, you really do not like Black Lady, so.
Well, I just don't get why people just like her so much.
I think because it's like an evil grown-up version of Chibi-Usa, and because Wiseman took such innocent child and corrupted her.
I got it.
Yeah.
But so I'll go for it.
Okay. And now we're up to our rating. So I love the scene in the beginning with Naru. I think it's cool that she kind of gets what's going on in her own way, and that she's also not going to pressure Usagi to share. And I love Ami telling everyone that she is glad that they are friends, and the entire exchange of them saving the world and eating cake afterwards. I don't love that Demando essentially kidnaps Usagi again, because I feel like he just pulls a trap door and she comes right to him.
Yeah, we got a yada yada.
I know. Don't love that. But it was nice that he protected Sailor Moon from Wiseman, but that is the only nice thing we ever see him do. But all that being said, overall, I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 roses.
Well, I'm going to give it 4 as well, because God forbid our reviews not match up perfectly.
They don't always.
For most of the same reasons, the Naru scene, the real payoff of Usagi, becoming a stronger person, becoming more powerful, and having to kind of, the upside of or the downside of the trapdoor is that she's put in a position where she can show her strength. Yeah. And it isn't even like whacking somebody with the moonstick or something. It's just like, personal strength of will, strength of conviction. These are things that episode 1 Usagi sorely lacked. And so she has those now, and she has grown as a person and as a sailor soldier. Yeah. So just the fact that the episode allows this to happen means that it's got to be somewhat high up for me. Talky, but not explainy talky, drama talky. Characters are conflicting with each other and paying off the just the story that so far. So I think that's all good. I'm just gonna go with a 4. I don't know where we're going with the tuxedo mask and hey little sister.
Oh gosh, no, stop.
It's a Billy Idol song waiting to happen, but no, it'd be "Rock the Cradle of Love."
Oh no!
If it was a Billy Idol song,
weird.
But maybe it's
Okay, well, enough focus on that. My English title is Demando's Sacrifice: Death for Love.
Death for Love.
Yeah.
The exchange rate is pretty high.
No.
Mine, let's keep it going. Mine is Black Wedding Part 1.
Oh no!
Just to keep it going.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Hey, little sister, shotgun.
Oh my god!
Right? That's what
yes,
they mean.
Yeah.
Moon Prism Power Shotgun. Dodge this, you creepy bastard.
I'd like to see that, like a
Luna P.
Yeah.
Shotgun.
A Sailor Moon music video shot in the style of Black Wedding.
Of Billy Idol?
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts off. It's just all the candles.
Yes.
No, that's the police. That's the police.
He has candles too.
He's got a flame thing, and so he runs into it in the middle. So you've got all the sailors, and they're all smacking their butts, for the percussion. I know a lot about Billy Idol videos. And then he runs into the middle for the bridge. And Usagi runs in, but she steps over the fire. And then, her dress catches on fire. She's like, whoa, whoa. She's just running around.
Oh, my God.
Smacking her butts. Start again. Come on.
Next episode, we are talking about episode number 88. Hikari to Yami no Saishu Kessen, Mirai he Chikaku ai in Japanese. The final battle between light and dark. Pledge of love to the future. The English translation and the English title, Final Battle.
Wasn't the last one's Final Battle, wasn't it? Or it's like...
It was something like that.
Got that Yami. Got that Yami. No, we're doing Billy Idol. Yeah, well, so I've deduced, or maybe induced, that the last episode won't involve any of these bad guy characters. It looks like we're going to wrap up the plot before the last episode. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I think probably since we'll be rating Creepy Wiseman and anybody who's still alive.
Right.
In the next episode. Then the episode after that, maybe we can use that time to kind of look back as we did before.
I think that's an excellent
idea.
Instead
of, burning an entire episode on a retrospective, we can just kind of look back at, everything that's come before Al-Anon and the Ayakashi sisters and the whole Black Moon Clan saga.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Before we go on to Sailor Moon R. The movie.
I know. I think that's an excellent
This time,
idea.
It's not the TV show.
I know, right? Exactly. That's how I feel when I hear the title of that.
Yeah, we've talked about this. I know. But, I'm ready for it to end so we can start again.
Fair.
Start again. Keep it all inside.
Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Start again.